Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if, Juubi Naruto x Kaguya, part 4. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. She couldn't ask Hiruzen for much, otherwise that damn village could use that, as favoritism, and vote him out of office, and Danzo in. That was the last thing either of them wanted. The only source of income they got was from S-rank missions she took, and from her friend who was a general in the Fire Daimyo's samurai army. So when Naruto showed up, she was more than happy giving him her loyalty, and so far he hadn't let her down. He wasn't abusive, a pervert for the most part, or demanding. He just wanted to help them, and rebuild her home village, Yuzashiogakur. It didn't matter much to her about the other things she had seen in his memories. From what she saw, he was a haluva better man than Minato or his loser of a sensei ever was, and would be by light years. That's when she heard it. Boom. She looked up instinctively due to her ninja reflexes, looking at the window, as she saw a powerful breeze sweep the trees past. Kushina-san, what do you think that was? Tsunami asked. After getting no response, she looked over to see the radiated woman gone, and the back door opened. The woman blinked, she didn't think she could move that fast. Naomi's mindscape. Naruto groaned, and sat up to find himself. In a sewer. Never thought I'd see this place again, he muttered. Standing up, he walked over to the darkest parts of the sewer, and stepped back to avoid a claw from grasping him. You have far better reflexes than my jailer. Out of the darkness came a large fox head with its mouth snarling, red eyes glaring at the male before it. Where's Naomi anyways? He asked. This conversation does not require that girl, but alas I can't stop when she chooses to arrive here. Damn right you can't, you overgrown carpet. A feminine voice shouted. The fox groaned in annoyance before banging its head against the bars in defeat. Naruto-kun, why are you here? Hey furball, why are we here? Naomi said, walking over to the cage. If you'll shut up, I'll show you. It barks back. Naomi looked offended, and was about to retort until a hand was placed on her shoulder. She looked over, and saw Naruto shaking his head. You bickering back and forth isn't going to help this relationship prosper, he lectured. Suddenly red light covered Kyuubi's head, and eventually its entire body. The Biju began to shrink down until its form now resembled a woman. Naomi looked over to Naruto for an explanation, only to see him blinking slowly, trying to process it as well. Apparently this was his first time seeing this as well. The light died down, revealing a woman with black hair leading to the middle of her back. Her eyes were red, though you could only see one of them, cute red, and white fox ears on the top of her head. She wore a black kimono which protected her huge breasts and womanly curves from being seen. And finally a white tail with red fur coming out of her backside. Naruto was speechless. He had crossed just about every Naruto dimension there was, and he had only seen a female version of Kurama once. He had a better chance of seeing a female Madara than he did a female Kurama. The female Naomi shouted in surprise. The woman looked annoyed at how loud the teenager was, and made it known with her glare, I've had all female hosts, what did you expect? She then turned to Naruto who was still blinking yet not saying anything. Fox got your tongue. She taunted with a smirk. The Akatsuki snorted, well excuse me for wondering how the hell you're a woman, seeing how I usually come across males all the time, he said. She sighed before walking up to the bars of the cage, poking her head out. Your memories are quite interesting indeed. In all my years of being in this damned world, I never thought I'd meet someone that would surpass Father's or Kaguya's power so greatly, as you do. I was born a woman along with my sisters Matatabi, Isarabi, and Asobu. Out of all of us, we four are the most level-headed, and least corrupt. What do you mean least corrupt? Naomi asked. My brothers Son Goku, Kukuro, Seiken, Chimei, and Jayuki became corrupt after their father died. They often attempted to try to rule over us, seeing themselves as superior to us because they were male. They corrupt their Jinchuriki hosts, wanting them to believe they're invincible. Naruto frowned, that wasn't usually what happened during these dimension runs. The Biju were usually so relatable. Anything else? I want to offer my body, heart, soul, and awesomeness to you on one condition, she said. He sweat dropped as she said body and awesomeness. Why me, and what's the condition? For starters, I'd rather be on the side of someone who could easily wipe me out without a mere glance. Plus you're quite the looker, she complimented, ignoring Naomi's glare. Second, I owe it to Kushina and her daughter for letting myself get placed into such a weak by yet another Uchiha dog. She snarled. And the condition? Free my sisters, she pleaded. I could care less about my brothers, but please, save my sisters from whatever their pathetic and ignorant hosts have become more tempted to turn them into. She looked at him silently, begging, even bowing her head in submission. Naomi was speechless, for the dreaded 9 tails to be a woman was already mind-boggling, but now she was willingly giving her servitude to him. Help out Naomi, and you have a deal. He waited for a name. Kiyomi, my name is Kiyomi, and I'll do everything in my power to help her. Especially since I have all of my chakra, Kiyomi said. Naruto smirked and nodded. He could feel himself waking up, and judging from Kiyomi's disappointed look, he was right. We'll talk later. Real world. Naomi awoke and immediately winced, feeling pain from her right arm. She looked at it only for her eyes to widen. From her hand to her elbow was covered in bandages. It was also still slightly bleeding from the looks of the dark red staining the bandages. She looked up to see Anko, her mom, and Naruto conversing back and forth. Now that we know where the rest of the tailed beasts are, what's stopping you from taking them now? Anko asked, bandages around her midsection and head due to the explosion the Rasengan caused. I made you all a promise, didn't I? He asked, shocking the three. Even after such a threat has been revealed to you, you still want to put us first, Kushina muttered. Naruto nodded, as he picked up Naomi's bridal style causing her to blush. Now come on, that's enough training for today. Your wounds need to heal, and I'm sure all three of you are hungry. Along with the fact of Kiyomi not shutting off Naomi, and instead helping her, changes can be made that will shock that pathetic little village. What about that Senju bitch, Tsunade? Should she return to the village, our plans will have to be sped up tremendously. Yami reminded him. Do you believe she is the same? Of course she is. It's like every run we take where Kushina's alive, that big-breasted whore believes that the Biju belong to her dead clan, or that she's some top shit because she's Hashirama's granddaughter. In many of their dimension runs, Tsunade was less than pleased to see either him or Kushina, and only thought for herself. It was one of the reasons he never truly cared for her nor Jiraiya whatsoever anymore. Both were losers in his opinion, one who drinks and gambles running away from reality, and sells her companion's body to back off her debt collectors, and the other a self-proclaimed super pervert who wrote smut novels, went in brothels, and played with prostitutes, and sexually harassed women. And invaded their privacy constantly. However, the lingering of Yami's voice intrigued him. Yes. When you retrieve the Kiyomi's sisters, give them powerful women as their containers. Going off if what she says is true, they'll not only be annoyed, but disgusted by their obsolete containers, and would immediately take the chance to be given someone who's competent. And whose advice is better to take than the man who freed them. Keep giving me ideas like this, and I'll have no choice but to merge us together completely. Naruto jokes. Yami was an incredibly smart tactician, planner, and leader, whereas Naruto himself was a teacher, fighter, and warlord. Even Kami, Yami, and Shiny had agreed that should the two of them merge into one mind, Naruto would easily be the smartest mind to ever live. I wouldn't mind becoming one again. After all, the only reason I even became a thing was because you liked being so sadistic, and wanted to terrorize people with two versions of us. Couldn't argue with him there. When they arrived back at the house, Tsunami, Inari, and Tazuna immediately began asking if they were okay. We're fine, just exhausted from fighting. Anko said. Naomi-nichan, can you teach me how to channel my chakra when you feel better? Inari begged. Sure, squirt, as soon as someone puts me down. She glared at Naruto, who snorted, then abruptly dropped her on her ass. Veridide squealed as she hit the floor and glared at the Akatsuki, who walked over and laid on the couch without a care in the world. Jerk, she yelled, rubbing her butt. The three older women giggled before walking over to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Tazuna merely chuckled, then went back upstairs with Inari, who whined about not being able to learn from his Ani-san and Ni-chan. She looked so happy around him. Kushina said with a smile, as she watched her daughter jump on Naruto, earning a grunt from the male. I'm eternally grateful to Naruto-san for saving me from being defiled by those dirty men. Tsunami took a moment to shudder upon remembering the memory. I don't want to think what could have happened if none of you had shown up, she said. Anko rubbed the woman's back in a comforting manner. We all owe a lot to Naruto. I just don't know how we can repay him. Mom. Naomi squeaked. The three women looked over to see Naruto holding Naomi in the air above his head. Akatsuki, Naruto, you put her down this instant. Kushina scolded, causing the male to raise an amused eyebrow. You know, that normally works if you're talking to normal people. He chuckled. The irritated mother stuttered for a bit, her face turning red with embarrassment. Put her down, she yelled. You want to take her place, Kushina-chan? I'd be happy to hold you in my arms too. He teased me. Embarrassed beyond any point ever in her life, Kushina summoned a katana and rushed after Naruto, who wisely took off outside with Naomi laughing following behind them. I've never seen her that happy before, Anko said, feeling slightly jealous. Really? They look incredibly happy with him. It's a shame you won't stay long after you kill Geto. Tsunami said, getting the ramen from the stove. Thanks to Naruto's creation of all things, he had given the family many things they usually had no means of affording. Yeah, it was true. After they had killed Geto, and Tazuna rebuilt the bridge, they would head back to Konoha to begin planning for its downfall. And show everyone in the village just how insignificant they truly were. With Naruto, Kushina, and Naomi. Naruto bobbed and weaved as a red-faced Kushina and grinning Naomi slashed their katanas at him. He flipped over both of them before forming hand seals, the Kakyu no Jutsu. He spit out a massive fireball that practically roared as it charged at them. The two raised a hand each and shouted, Sujin. Sujin Haki. Raising a wall of water, they consumed the fireball, putting it out and sending steam to cover the forest ground. Hopping into a tree above, Kushina looked at Naomi, who was using her senses to find their annoying leader. Friend. Lover. What was he to them? It was due to her shinobi training that at the last second she avoided a kunai aimed for her head. She glared across the trees where she saw Naruto, who was looking bored, twirling another kunai in his fingers, his right eye now sporting the 3 Tomo Sharingan that was spinning slowly. His left eye still blue. Fighting in an apron, Kushi-chan. He mocked, "What'll happen if you lose all your clothes?" Said woman got a gleam in her eyes as she grabbed the apron and ripped it away, surprising both Naruto and Naomi, as the woman literally flashed over to where Naruto was jabbing her katana, only for him to turn into a flock of crows that started pecking at Kushina. "Get away from me, you bothersome bastards," she said, swiping at them. She looked at her daughter only to see her fighting Naruto when a hand wrapped around her throat and slammed her against the tree. She was about to curse when she blushed at how close the Akatsuki was to her. Their noses just inch apart. She could practically feel his breath on her lips, his blue eyes staring her violet ones. "You let your guard down," he criticized. "Had I been an enemy, your lack of focus would have gotten you killed." I know she regained her breath as he let her down, and his grip on her throat relaxed. He turned his head to his clone that was toying with Naomi, and judging from her face she was having fun. Naruto released Kushina's throat before snorting at the half-hearted glare she sent him. "This is necessary because I don't want any of you dying on me. I can bring you back to life, but it costs me, and I'd rather avoid it if possible." "What does it cost you?" she said, though quietly moving her hand back to her sword. He chuckled quietly. "You'll have to do better than that," he thought before his eternal manjakyo formed. In a flash, their swords were drawn, and clashed together in a blurry of slashes, carving out the tree entirely, until the top of it fell to the ground peeling. The two jumped down to the ground floor before engaging again. Naruto ducked and jabbed at Kushina with a thrust aimed for her lungs, though she blocked it, and retaliated with a slash across the chest which healed instantly, though destroyed the shirt he was wearing. He wasn't given time to make a perverted comment, as he was hit with the memories of his clone dislodging, and then dodging a sword thrust aimed for his back. Backflipping away from the mother and daughter duo that had reunited, he stared down at them impassively, turning into what he dubbed his teacher mode. "You both have grown during these short couple of days. You've taken my teachings to heart, you've listened to my words of advice, you even look at me as a potential lover." He grinned at the huge blushes that formed covering their faces before returning his face to its emotionless state. Naruto then activated his Rin Sharingan that showed 5 Tomo instead of 9 this time. However, the sky began to turn dark as rain started pouring onto the 3 of them, drenching all of them, and causing their hair to fall over their faces. "Now I'm putting what I've taught you to the test. If you survive for the next 3 hours, you pass. If you don't fight with everything you got, I'll kill you." His voice was void of emotion, and honestly it scared the 2 Uzumaki women. They now truly saw why he was a primordial god. Someone with power and rank far beyond anyone they had ever seen. His hair covered his left eye once more, though you could see the purple of the taijutsu easily from time to time. The red of the eternal manjakyo shining brightly in the dark, almost lulling them to sleep. "Any other rules?" Kushina asked, barely able to breathe under the raw pressure of the power he was displaying. Kyuubi or Naokiyomi's was nothing compared to this. Naruto merely tilted his head, and Kushina felt offended. He acted like she had just said something dumb. "Mom, look out!" Naomi shouted at the last minute, tackling her and her mother out of the way. Kushina's eyes whitened as a fireball barely missed them, hitting the ground and sending chunks of earth everywhere. Their eyes traveled back up to the branch the Akatsuki previously was to find him gone. "Mom, come on. We have a better chance fighting him if we stick together," the younger of the 2 said. "Why yeah, you're right." Refocusing herself, Kushina and Naomi walked back to back deeper into the training forest Naruto had designed to train them away from civilization, and had put barriers up. "I wonder how Anko's doing." "With Anko?" Anko glared at the man behind her with a scowl. Mitarashi Anko was many things. Pervert. Sadistic. Psycho. Crazy. Protective. Loyal. Kind to those who deserved it. Awesome. Sexy. Dangle lover. But most important of all, she was sensitive. Before Naruto joined her life, she was much like Kushina, waiting for someone to get the balls and attack her. All her friends had practically abandoned her when she defended Kushina and her baby. Not that she had many. Kurenai had stopped talking to her, and even denounced their friendship after she found out Anko wasn't going to hate Kushina or Naomi. Yugao had also backstabbed her all so she could get on the good side of her higher-ups. Her exact words were, "Do you know what that would do to my reputation if I got seen hanging around the village rejects? Do me a favor and stop talking to me." Hana had for some time stopped talking to her, as some of her civilian friends had been killed by Kiyomi, though that was stomped out by Tsume. Unfortunately, neither Anko or Kushina wanted much to do with Hana, seeing how they could easily see the dirty looks Hana gave Naomi from time to time. The Akatsuki not only saved her from a fate worse than death, but he was kind to her. He gave her a new goal in life. Like Naomi and Kushina, he had started training her in different things other than what she learned from Orochimaru. Her chakra reserves were like mid-jonin level before she met him, but now they were easily reaching high and below cage level reserves. The only problem she really had was that he tended to spend more time with her sensei and her daughter than her. She knew how fast she was improving compared to Naomi, though it was annoying. She was honestly just scared of being forgotten again. She had abandonment issues because of Orochimaru, and she honestly believed they would stay with her forever. Whenever someone was chosen over her for anything, it'd bring back horrible memories. Her current issue, as of now though, was the grinning male who was holding her from behind, ignoring her anger. "You know, you look so much more sexy when you're mad," he teased me. Red covered her face, both from embarrassment and anger. "What do you want? Shouldn't you be training Kushina-sensei and Naomi?" she snapped. She winced as his grip tightened, and he brought her closer. She could feel his glare staring right through her. "Anko, I will never forget about you. Why do you think I'm here right now?" Naruto said. Takubetsu Jonin shrugged. "I know you won't forget me, I just want as much time with you as them." She sighed as his grip loosened as he massaged her ribs. "I'll spend more time with you, I promise," he said, gently biting her earlobe, making her mellow. "Why send a clone when I could have you?" she asked disappointedly as she rested her back against his chest. "Training, I need to see how far they'll last going all out against me." He trailed his hands to her stomach and began massaging her. "Can I join?" she asked, sighing. The clone shrugged, tugging on her ear with her teeth. "You could go help them, but you'll need to know exactly what's going on." The purple-haired woman nodded, quickly grinning, and suddenly the clone felt bad for its creator. With Naomi ran at full pace through the forest at high speed, panting heavy as she jumped over fallen trees. Everything just went to shit within seconds. Naruto had just jumped down from the trees and fully attacked them with the intent to kill. He had separated both of them, taking her mom on, but sending a clone to chase after her. She didn't know what happened to her mother, but she did know she had to survive this crazy-ass hot kula. Thud. Going somewhere. She looked up and paled at the sight of her attacker. He had a scar over his right eye, along with blood flowing from the cut, his hair covering his left eye, along with his two white horns sticking out, though the right one was broken. His Rinshuriken had been reverted back to a regular Rinnegan, and his Mangekyo returned to a simple 3-Tomo state. His upper body was covered in cuts, slashes, and burn marks, his right arm completely black, and his shinobi pants in tears. "Hey Naruto-kun, where's Kachan?" she said, shaking. "You'll be joining her soon." Her eyes widened before they narrowed, and a snarl covered her face. "You killed her," she shouted at him, though her anger didn't even seem to faze him. Naruto shrugged. "I told you what would happen, it's not my fault she couldn't survive long enough." Red chakra started to swarm around the girl, her teeth sharpened, her nails turned into claws, her eyes turned blood red, pupils turned to slits, and 4 tails split from her backside. "I'm going to break you," she growled out before lashing out at her fellow Redeed. Naruto jumped away at the last second, avoiding being clobbered by 2 tails. He whistled in appreciation as he saw the chunk of earth missing from the ground, before flashing through one-handed seals, Kaden, Ryu and Hoka no Jutsu. Blowing out several dragon-headed fireballs at Naomi, he already prepared for another attack, seeing the team flash through hand seals with an enhanced speed. Looks like being more in tune with Kiyomi instead of being gives her better reaction timing, but there's one thing I never understood. What does Kiyomi mean by having all her chakra? Didn't Minato seal half and half? Naomi summoned 4 clones that summoned giant water walls, and managed to block out 3 of the fireballs, but 4 still managed to hit Naomi and her clones, sending steam to cover the area. The Akatsuki jumped into the air, shouting with a roar, "Kaden, Gunka." Kneading and converting his chakra to fire, he created multiple fireballs, sending them down at Naomi, who retaliated with a multitude of earth barricades to cover herself. "Those shelters won't save you, Uzumaki," he muttered. Upon making contact with their target or the ground, debris went everywhere, as the fireballs exploded, sending roaring flames and loud noises everywhere. With both the rain roaring down on them, and the flames of fire still burning around them, the air on the ground could easily knock you out, and kill you by itself. The irritated male dropped to the floor with a thud, the soft soil underneath his feet mushy from the heat. Sensing something from his right side, he stepped back, and avoided a katana slash from cutting him in 2. His would-be attacker had red hair, a torn and half-burned Jonin vest, her black shirt ripped, her shinobi pants torn, and her mouth dripping blood. Her exposed skin had cut slashes, and her breathing was heavy. "So you survived after all, Kushina." He clicked his tongue in annoyance. Cedridi just growled at him before swinging her sword at him again. He chose to block it this time, easily pushing her back. He rounded on her, quickly slashing from left to right, catching her off guard with a cut across the arm that made her stagger. Kushina, to her credit, recovered fast, and kicked him in his side, earning a grunt. She even headbutted him, making him stumble back and draw blood. "You tell me, Kushina, how you survive, I'm quite curious," Naruto asked. "I'm an Uzumaki, I always find a way." she responded, scowling. He returned her scowl with one of his own. My Amaterasu flame should have killed you, and by some small chance you lived. How did you escape the tree prison and his poisonous gas? If there always is one thing about this woman, her Uzumaki genes help her escape many things thought to be impossible, Naomi said. It's quite annoying, Naruto replied. I thought you wanted her alive. Are you trying to kill them on purpose? I just need to see how strong she is when our plans go into action. Kiyomi's chakra still runs through my system, making me immune to any and all poisons known in the elemental nations, she grinned. Aside from the fact I'm a Uzumaki and former Jinchuriki, I'm a Akatsuki descendant just like you. I can adjust to anything, she said proudly before charging him with more force and power than before. Naruto, now on the defense, was impressed with Kushina's focus. Her strikes were more on point, though still not hitting him, carried more power, and were quicker. What's wrong? Scared now? Surprised Kushi-chan has you on the run now, she taunted, chasing after him as he backflipped onto the side of a tree. Naruto's focus was mainly on the growing amount of chakra coming from where Naomi was, and the incoming source of chakra which he presumed was Anko. Fight back, idiot. Don't ignore me, Kushina shouted. The woman soon got her wish, as a fist went straight into her stomach and knocked all the air out of her lungs, before getting grabbed by her hair and thrown into the ground. She climbed out of the small crater her impact caused, and glared at Naruto, who smirked at her. We passed the 2-hour mark, but I'm having way too much fun to end this. Besides, I doubt Anko and your daughter want to end it either. Kushina's eyes widened before she looked back where she sensed her daughter laying, and gasped. Covered in a layer of red chakra was Naomi. It was also clear, judging from her body, that her beatdown had caused changes to be made. Her red hair, once smooth and laid down, had turned spiky, going down to her mid-back, shoulder-length bangs framing her face, covering most of her left eye. It's basically Madara's hairstyle, but red and shorter. Her whiskers marks thickened, her face lost whatever fat was left, and her eyes were cold. Her long-sleeved shirt that had one sleeve torn off showed her already impressive bust was even larger than before, rivaling Kushina's now. Her height, once at 5'2", now was also at 5'5". Naomi-chan. Kushina was shell-shocked at the new development. At that moment Anko chose to arrive. The sexy Anko-sama is here to say. Her words died in her throat at the sight of the new Naomi. She looked so hot. Anko was by all means straight, but she couldn't deny that another person of the same sex was incredibly attractive. Did not see that coming, Naruto muttered. Whatever Kiyomi had done obviously helped Naomi, whether it was for getting in his favor or fighting wise. He had a good feeling this blessing was going to make taking over this timeline even easier. Naomi's eyes softened as they met with her mother's concerned ones. What happened to you, sweetie? She asked. When I got knocked unconscious, she took a moment to glare at Naruto, who just crossed his arms. She told me she had a surprise for me, as an apology of sorts for our lives being so shitty. This was her apology, Anko exclaimed, ogling the teen. Naomi nodded, causing her hair to flow. It'll take a few hours for my mind to adjust to everything she told me about, but I can tell you this, my body has been adjusted to the point where I look like an adult. Aside from a few changes I wanted myself, my chakra control feels so much better. Aside from the Naruto-kan showed and taught me, Kiyomi gave me super strength. The male of the group groaned, sensing a headache. Super strength. He had a feeling it was far stronger than the senjus would ever be, but still. Naomi now knew many different jutsu stances, and had super strength. Could this get any better? Worse? My reserves were already massive before, but now it's like they have no end. I can go up to 6 tails of her chakra without losing control, she said. My speed should have a massive increase, and fire was also now one of my primary elements along with air. It got worse. Both groaned, mentally feeling the headache about to occur. Once again, he wasn't in any real danger. That being said, judging from how much Kiyomi truly provided Naomi with, she could easily be as strong as Rinnegan Madara, if not stronger. And that guy was annoying to fight. He just spammed Susanoo, Chibaku Tensei, and Tengai Shinsei all day, because he couldn't get close enough to use the Jigakudo Path's abilities. So what happened to Kiyomi? Anko asked after absorbing all the new information she had just been told. She might be out for a couple weeks. She used a lot of her chakra to make this work for me. Naomi rubbed the back of his neck, blushing slightly at the real reason Kiyomi made the physical adjustments for her so defined. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go kick his ass. Anko shouted, pointing at the eye-twitching Naruto. Yeah, tabbing. With Naomi-chan and her new awesome powers, we'll show him what happens when you mess with us. Kushina supported, her eyes sparkling, as she raised her sword in Naruto's direction. With Naomi stepping in front of them, she grinned, showing some of her teeth and how sharp they were, as her eyes turned to slits. Charge. I need an aspirin. I wonder if those 3 hotties up there are looking at us. Multiverse, throne room. Kami, Yami, and Shiny all sneezed at the same time repeatedly. Is it allergy season already? Yami mumbled. No, just Naruto-kan thinking about us again. Kami sighed, saddened that her favorite person was out screwing with yet another timeline. It's so boring without him here. Shiny whined. Lay Mao's dumbest for going into a timeline where all the girls Naruto-kan liked have developed bodies. You're kidding? Yami looked at her sister in shock. The goddess shook her head. They look nothing like they did as kids or young teenagers. Aside from the fact the female Biju will change a few things to appease Naruto, they look like they did as young adults. Shiny suddenly grabbed her sister by her dress, nearly ripping it. You mean all of them have the power to make him stay there and fuck them until they grow old, she yelled. The woman nodded, causing Shiny to drop her, then slumped to the floor depressed. There's something about those women that turns Naruto-kan into an insatiable monster, Kami said. They really miss their lover and fellow god. With Naruto and the girls. Naruto clicked his teeth as he dodged a katana slash from Kushina, used a kunai to cut 2 snakes and by Anko, and backflipped to avoid being turned into splattered meat by Naomi. As his right eye bled, Naomi shouted, "Look out," sending the other 2 women and herself scattering for cover as Naruto unleashed the black flames of Amaterasu. The flames instantly consumed the spot where they were at, turning it to literal ash and covering everything in the vicinity. In the trees, Naomi stared at the target of her affections with cold eyes. "I'll show you just how strong I am, then I'll tie you up and lock you in a room with me and Finn. And finally, I'll show you what it's like to get dominated by God." She shrieked and jumped before turning around, getting a foot to the face, sending her into another tree. Bounding on her again with a punch, he barely missed her by an inch, ending up with his hand going straight into the trunk. Grady ripped his arm out, scowling at the splinters now lodged into it. "Our turn." Naomi grinned as Kushina and her got in front of him. Surita no Jutsu. The 2 formed large dragons that shot at Naruto, knocking him back with the force of the water. Before he could respond, Anko jumped out, forming hand seals, Kaden. Kakyu no Jutsu. Launching a fireball into the back of Naruto, the Akatsuki was sent flying further into the forest. "Stay together, if we overwhelm all at once, we'll easily beat him," Kushina said, as the trio went into the forest after him. Immediately they heard laughter after Kushina's words of encouragement. "Don't lie to them, Kushina, you know firsthand just how easily I can overpower you. In fact, I think I might just show you how futile this really is." On command, roots thrust from out the ground, wrapping around Naomi, forcing her to the ground. Shortly afterwards, Kushina was kicked into Anko, who was grabbed and pulled underground, leaving only her head for her to breathe. Naruto appeared from out of the ground with a tanto in his hand, pointing at the elder Uzumaki. "I've already incapacitated both Anko and Naomi. Show me how strong you are, Kushina," he challenged. "With pleasure," the Uzumaki woman replied, almost flashing in front of the male with a burst of speed, clashing swords with him. She was immediately put on the defensive, as Naruto brought down a powerful slash every time he swung at her. Even with a standard tanto, the Akatsuki proved he was once again better than her when it came to every aspect of fighting. Naruto, sensing the chakra buildup from Naomi, and eventually her breaking free of the roots, raised his palm at Kushina, Shinra Tensei. Blowing her back, he turned around in time to catch Naomi's fist, aiming for his face. The ground cracking underneath the pressure of her chakra-enhanced punch. Mangekyou and Rinnegan stared into red-slit eyes, both of them not willing to give up any ground, though Naomi had a feeling she'd lose this very fast. "That new look really suits you. I might have to fight off fanboys to defend what's mine," he teased, and was rewarded with a heavy blush from the girl. The teenager's scowl intensified, though her red face made the fierce glare look even more cute. "Idiot. We're fighting, and that's what you say. You make it so easy." He pulled her by her fist, taking the surprised girl off her feet and throwing her into a tree. His Mangekyou swirled as he spun around and caught a sword strike, aiming for his ripped weapon from the surprised Uzumaki. He kneed her in the stomach before hitting her in the jaw before headbutting her. Tajikage Bunshin no Jutsu. Smoke cleared, and he widened his eyes to see hundreds of Kushinas and Nameses. "Let's go," one of them yelled, as they all charged, yelling and shouting encouragement. Naruto grinned as the first few clones ran up on him, his Mangekyou spinning wildly. Enten. Hinokazuchi. Dodging the first few punches, he surrounded himself with the Amaterasu flames that turned into spikes, impaling, then dispelling the clones. He summoned his katana just in time to block a strike from a clone and return the favor with a decapitation. Backflipping into the air, he spewed out a large fireball that instantly burned 20 clones. A few of Kushina's clones came up with an idea and acted on it, forming chakra chains and wrapping them around Naruto's limbs, binding him. The large gathering of chakra mode. Naruto looked forward, and he was shocked to see 5 Naomis running at him with 5 red Rasengans that obviously had Kayumi's chakra infused into them. As soon as they were a couple feet from him, his Rinnegan was revealed with 6 Tomo showing. In a second, he seemingly escaped the chains, and in his place was a clone of his stationed by. He looked at their shocked faces and smiled. A minute Ejikari gives the ability to shift locations of myself, others, objects, and ninjutsu. He then turned his attention to his clone. With the clones already in front of him, the clone grinned and uttered the words, "Kai." The area blew up, sending whatever clones didn't dispel in the explosion into trees where they did dispel. There was quite literally a crater the size of the moon in the ground where the clone wars. Still alive I see. Naruto said, sensing Naomi behind him. I've still got more tricks up my sleeve, she said, breathing heavily. Judging from how low her chakra was, she was running on fumes and was close to unconsciousness. Enough, you've improved a lot, Naomi. I'm proud of you. He praised her. She stopped in her tracks hearing the compliments and praise, but before she could say anything he was behind her. Nares. Her world went back as she collapsed in his waiting arms. Underneath the Megakure Akatsuki hideout, 5 figures stood around a round table in silence, digesting the new information brought before them. They all wore black cloaks that had red trimming and red clouds. The first figure was a tall man that had medium-length spiky orange hair, 6 piercings that donned his face, a metal bar through each of his ears, 3 studs through the side of his upper nose, and 1 spike stud on each end of the upper lip. On his right finger, he wore a purplish-gray ring that had the kanji for 0 on it. His eyes, however, were the real shocker. They were the same as both Naruto's, the Rinnegan. The second figure was a woman that had short, straight lavender hair with a bun, amber eyes, lavender eyeshadow, and elaborate piercing. She had a large light blue paper flower clipped on her bun. On her right middle finger was a ring with the kanji for white. The third figure was also a woman. She had onyx eyes, under which were long, pronounced tear troughs. She had jet black hair that was pulled back into a ponytail. His face was framed by center-parted bangs. Through the unzipped view of her cloak, she wore mesh armor with a necklace that had 3 silver rings with red gems inside them. On her right finger was a red ring that bore the kanji for vermilion. The fourth figure was a man. Th3 cloak covered his body, as he had the hood concealing his hair with an orange mask, with a spiral pattern focused around his right eye. On his right hand, he wore a purple ring with the kanji for jewels. The final figure was a plant creature thing. It had 2 sides of color, 1 white, 1 black. On his sides were Venus flytrap-like extensions enveloping their head and upper body like a shell. His hair was green, short, and spiky along with golden eyes. It wore on his right finger a green ring with the kanji for sign of the boar. The masked man spoke. Zetsu, is this information accurate? The creature nodded. Yes, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has been receiving help from an outside source. It nodded. How is this possible? From what Itako said, Konoha and its people despise the Jinchuriki and the Uzumaki clan head, who would assist them. This time it was the lavender woman who spoke. And that is still true. No one except for the Sandame and Inuzuka clan had cared for them, and would see their skeletons hanged and their skin burnt off. The now identified Uchiha spoke. The orange-haired male stayed silent, seemingly staring into space, as if in deep thought. We have not been able to identify who this person is, nor have we been able to detect them. Why do we not move to their location now? The Rinnegan user finally spoke. Former Jinchuriki or not, Uzumaki Kushina will not stand a chance against me. Your arrogance shows greatly. Nadara barked. The bun-haired woman glared at the masked man with a scowl. Pain is a god, a feeble woman such as the Uzumaki will not be a threat to him in the least. You clearly are stupid. Uzumaki Kushina survived getting a Biju forcefully taken from her, stabbed by said Biju, and then willed herself and her child to safety. The woman is on a level you will never grace, and you should tread carefully when approaching her. The woman then glared at Zetsu with a shot at her intelligence. Then what is your plan? Pain now spoke. We're speeding up the recruiting process, and waiting to make our move. We still are 3 members short. Why not just extract the 9 tails, and eliminate a potential threat now? Conan questioned. Itako answered it this time. Why risk early exposure to the world? They'll more than likely be around civilians or in a town, and wiping out an entire town will draw unwanted attention towards us. We will do nothing for now, but should the Kyuubi Jinchuriki grow too strong, both her and her mother will be dealt with. Am I clear? With heads nodding at the table, Nadara ended the meeting. Zetsu, monitor them. I want to know everything they do. With a nod, the plants sunk into the ground. No one will ruin my chance to be with Rin-chan again. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.